Hey, welcome back to the Coffee with Content Creators podcast. My name is Rob Balasabas. Hey, in this episode, I want to talk about something that we all are very familiar with as content creators, and that is editing. I don't edit, very rarely, actually. Very rarely do I edit. If you have been watching some of my content on YouTube and also the video podcast, very rarely do I ever edit anything. Um, and that's really weird for me to say out loud, but as a content creator, I know that editing is such a big part of our lives, and it's kind of an expected thing, of course. But, for me to edit a video, it would have to be a really, 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 really important video for me to take the time to edit it. It could be something for perhaps a virtual summit, or it's probably something where I'm doing it for Uscreen. Something really, really big, maybe an ad that I'm editing for Uscreen, or maybe it's a sponsored video that's going to be going on the brand's channel. It has to be something really, really big. I've learned that editing is such a bottleneck for me as a content creator. I learned this probably after year one, to be honest. Maybe even year two, to be a little bit more real and truthful, is that, probably in the first couple years, I edited every video, put all the transitions, the different layers and the J edits and all those things. But I've just learned that editing is such a bottleneck for me. And so, I know that there's other solutions out there. I don't have to edit videos myself. I know that there's a lot of my friends that are content creators that, don't edit ever, right from day one. They knew this. And so, I know that you can sign up for an editing service, which are all really great. I've had experiences working with editing services, when I was at TubeBuddy, even here at Uscreen, to some degree. And I actually have some really good friends that run companies that this is all they do. They have an editing service. I also know that I can hire a part-time or a full-time virtual assistant, or an outsourced editor for me. And that's also something I've done in the past, and have had some good experiences. But I'll tell you now that I really can't let go of that part of the creative process, the editing part of the creative process. I know that it's my videos, and it's my voice, and my words, and me on screen, but there's something about it where someone is editing that content, and for me it's a bit of a disconnect. And so to let go of that part of the creative process, at least for now, is something that I'm just struggled to do. And so and it is definitely something that I know is a bit of a hindrance, but it's just something that I've just decided that it's just not a solution that I'm gravitating to. I think it's great solutions to hire an editing service, or hire a part-time or full-time editor. I think those are great solutions. But for me, this is just not the route that I've taken. And so also, I guess I'd also like to mention that, it's not a fully hands-off thing to hire an editor. It still takes time. I've done this myself, whether it's a part-time or full-time editor that's in-house or outsourced, or it's an editing service. There's still time that you need to take to get those solutions up and running, to give feedback, approve things, all sorts of stuff like that. So what I've resorted to is just not editing, and trying to, create a workflow with creating content that requires as little, or if any, editing at all as possible. And so, this is probably the reason why I love this podcast. It's long form content usually. So there's a lot of margins for a slower paced video, to take time, to pause, to really go deeper into a topic, into a thought, into a conversation. And because, I really find that editing, editing videos is really for when you're creating quicker paced content, like for YouTube, for example, where the attention span of the viewer is super short, really short, and you need to hit them with, open up new curiosity. I don't know why I'm having a hard time saying that. Curiosity loops every few seconds. You need to do jump cuts and all sorts of, taking out the silences and even the in between your sentences. There's a bit of a, half millisecond gap where you need to take that out to really be effective in the most cases. And so, I've also sort of, I guess, strayed away from short form videos like Instagram Reels or Shorts. I do upload those, but they're usually, and I'm laughing because they're usually mini vlogs of, quick clips that I put together in InShot or directly within, the Instagram editing tools, with a template or something. When I share little videos of me traveling for work or vacations with the family. We recently went to Spain and and Portugal, and I uploaded some reels, but they're really just short clips of our travel. And I'll also do the same thing when I go to conferences for work. And so they're not really the same type of tutorial content, educational content that you would find in my long form videos on YouTube. And so again, very little editing. It's really just uploading, selecting some videos, some clips from my phone, and Instagram or InShot does the rest. And I just upload it, add a caption, and that's done. And it's really just me it's really more for documenting those memories that we can look back at and, kind of enjoy and say, hey, that's kind of like your, almost your home videos, this our generation's version of home videos, right? And so that's really what I use it for. And again, so very little editing. And so I guess, in this episode of the podcast, if I want to share, a few things that I do to minimize my editing, and hopefully, you can take some of these ideas, some of the things that I do, and apply it to your own creation process and minimize some of your editing as well. Even if you're still editing, this may help to reduce some of that editing time that you are taking. And so there's a few things that I do. And so the first one is to come up with bullet points for your videos. Include prompts. I usually have a Google Doc, and I put just bullet points of ideas that I want to share within that topic. And it usually will just have prompts to get me into those topics and those sections of the video. You can also script out a video. I have tried scripting out in the past. I don't script out videos anymore unless, like I said, unless it's a really important video, for a virtual summit or presentation or something like that. But otherwise, I'm bullet pointing. If scripting works for you and your mind works best that way, great, go for it. That's great. When I tried scripting, and I used to script everything for a season, word for word, I ended up sounding very robotic, right? It's just natural. When you're reading, you sound almost robotic, and you don't rely, and there's no, unless you practice and you really teach yourself to be relaxed when you're scripting, you can end up sounding very robotic. And so I've learned to bullet point instead, and that's really allowed me to be way more casual and sound like a human being. This is what I have right now. I do have my script. You'll see me looking this way to my screen, and I have bullet points. I don't have a script, sorry. So I think I said I scripted there, but I have my bullet points here in a Google Doc. If you want to see it, let me know in the comments, or send me a DM. I'm happy to share this with you. The next thing that I do is to really take your time. Don't rush your words. When you rush your words, you tend to use words like I just did, or and so, and so you do those things. But if you take your time, it allows you to really allow your thoughts and your spoken words, your brain and your mouth, to sync up. and you have less and those unnecessary filler words, right? When you rush, you get flustered. So you need to learn to slow down and, like I said, allow your thoughts and your spoken words to sync up, your brain and your mouth to sync up. The next thing is be really gracious with yourself when you fumble on some words. It's gonna happen, it's okay. You're human. You're gonna actually come across more genuine when you're imperfect like that. When you have such a perfect delivery, it's really good too. I wish I did, but it becomes a little bit more polished, and some people it doesn't resonate as well, in my opinion, with most people, right? People like to see that you're human, that you're imperfect, that you may have a filler word here and there, and that's totally fine. That's how people are. When you have conversations with them, they have filler words. It's okay. They repeat themselves every now and then. That's totally fine. And you fumble and you say, oh, you know what? I was actually, let me go back to this thought, right? That happens. So unless you're a professional actor with crazy memorization skills, you're going to fumble on some words every now and then. And that's totally fine. Be gracious with yourself, all right? Don't forget to look at the camera. Make eye contact. I try to do that as best as I can. It is kind of weird in the beginning because there's nobody there. It's just a lens. It's just a camera. It's just a round thing with a little piece of glass that you're looking at. But, one thing that I like to do is I like to pretend like I'm talking to an old friend. It's kind of cheesy, but it works, right? You're pretending to talk to an old friend. I've even seen some creators, I don't do this, but I've seen some creators when I go to conferences, when I visit their studios, they have a little photo of a friend, somebody, their spouse, their kids, right above the webcam or the camera, so that they don't forget to make eye contact with the camera. It's a quick tip. It works for some people. You may not need to do that. Some people will just put a red dot, or some people will put a little sticker like smile, a little post-it note or some type of tag, those label makers. You can use those as well. I have mine right here. I look the word Canon for some reason. So I have a Canon camera. And so I just look at that and I just, try to talk to the camera that way. Now, next thing here is that if you're using tools like StreamYard to record your videos, for example, or live stream, there's tools there that allows you to preset text overlays. So this means like you can pre-text banners that come in and out. And that really is such a useful tool. You can use these to use your different bullet points that you've written already and turn them into overlays in a list. And you can go down the list and really pop those overlays into the screen to serve two purposes. One, visuals for your audience. It just makes it more interesting that it's not just your face. There's some things coming in. There's text coming in and out. It's really cool. It's really interesting. There's things moving. It's not just a talking head. Also, secondary, more for you, is that it's also cues for you on your talking points. You can go down the list and say, okay, cool. My next talking point is this. I'll put it on the screen. Great. There you go. Also, hot tip is that when you are uploading your videos to YouTube, this makes it really easy for you to then look through and scrub through your video and find when those overlays are changing and use those as your chapters for your timestamps in your videos so that you can get chapters, which is great. We can nerd out on that, but using chapters is great. All right. And so just keep practicing. Keep practicing. The more you do this format of creating, the more consistent you'll be as a content creator. That definitely is the truth for me. I used to have, long gaps where I wouldn't upload any content. I wouldn't publish any content because I just didn't have time to edit, honestly. And so by reducing my editing work and almost really eliminating it for the most part, I've been able to be more consistent. I just create the content, I share my thoughts, my ideas, have conversations on podcasts, and I upload it. And I'm on to the next one. I'm commenting, I'm engaging, but I'm on to the next one. I don't overthink, that piece of content too long. I upload it. I am secure in the fact that it's the best content that I can share at the moment, and I hope that it helps other people. And then I engage in the comments. There you go, fumbling again. All right. And so honestly, this skill will overflow into other aspects of your life. I know for me, being a creator that is really focused on not editing, so trying to get it as best as possible in one take, is really helped me in public speaking, presenting during meetings at work, presenting your ideas, and even having conversations in real life, talking to my family, talking to friends in real life, and sharing those ideas. You know, the practice of simply bullet pointing your videos alone builds your skill to organize your ideas, to rank your ideas from most important to least important, how to flow from one idea to another idea, and so on. There's a lot of things, and we can kind of nerd out on that in a future video as well. But this whole process has really been way more helpful in other aspects of my life, not just creating, YouTube videos or podcast episodes. And so I hope that helps you out. Let me know what you think of this format of creating content. I'd love to hear whether you agree or disagree, right? This is an open forum. This is a community here with other creators. And so we don't all have to agree with each other. I know that there's creators out there, friends of mine, really good friends of mine, that are meticulous when it comes to editing. They are hardcore scripters, and so that's totally cool too. I'd love to learn from you. There might be something that I'm not doing. There's definitely something that I can learn from everybody. And so before we close off, got to do some housekeeping. I want to say thank you to our friends at StreamYard for sponsoring this video. They are the best live streaming platform out there. You go and there's tons of videos on my channel. There's also a link in my description here or in the show notes if you're listening to this on the podcast to get a free trial of StreamYard. So make sure you do that so that you can check them out. They're a great company. Love what they do over there. Let them know that Rob sent you. And I hope this video has been of value to you. And I'll see you in the next unedited video. Take care.